today.
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome on in. It's another edition of JJ and Alex, a special edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us today. If it's on your drive home, if it's via podcast, if it's in your living room, on your smart speaker, don't care. We just love that you're here with us, man. However you get it. And today's a big day for us, JJ. We get to see other human beings, which is it's kind of fun for us.
That's refreshing.
You step out of the studio.
It's not just me and you in a stuffy room.
Yeah, man. All of us, we work with other people. And
right.
We get to see those people today. So there you go. Yes, the studio is mobile today. We are inside of our TV studio here at KSL Broadcast House in Studio A. The colorful balloons and the flashing lights and the phones that are active and the screens and the volunteers and just the hubbub that is means, of course, it is our Primary Children's Give-a-thon. It's the KSL Give-a-thon for Primary Children's Hospital. We do this every year, and this is something that I was able to do for a good 15, 16 years when I was working at KSL News Radio, so this is old hat for me, and it never gets old because it is just such an awesome thing to be a part of every year, to have the Give-a-thon and to be able to ask people in our community. And by the way, we are the number one donating state in the union. I know that shocks you when it comes to charitable giving, but Utah shows up when it comes to giving, and today is one of those times, and Primary Children's Hospital is a massive, massive piece of our community and a huge partner that we have, and somebody that, as Bonneville employees, you and I both know this, we've been working here a long time, it's always been a huge emphasis for our company and for our, not just for our bosses, but my neighbors, myself. I've taken my kids to Primary Children's Hospital, and so this is a huge deal for us. Personally, it's a huge deal for us in the community. We love it.
Yeah, I've for a number of times, unfortunately, I've had to take my kids to Primary Children's Hospital, but it's fortunate that it's here,
yes,
and they can provide the services they do. And every time I've had to take a kid there, I've had great care. I've also had a chance to meet many families who have had to take kids there with serious illnesses. Pediatric cancer,
yes,
a number of things, and the work that Primary Children's does in our community to help these kids survive these things, overcome these things, battle these things, it's remarkable, and it's great to be able to help in some way. And it's just awesome that we're able to come together and be able to do this on this day, just simply doing our jobs here on the radio, but at the same time having a chance to help so many families that need the services that Primary Children's offers. And, Primary Children's can't do what they do without your help.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And to see, we're looking at the board right now, $179,415 raised. That's a big chunk of change.
That's a big number.
That's
and
awesome.
We want to thank the Lee R. Jackson Trust for matching this hour. You can get your donations matched this hour. That means every dollar that you donate gets matched by the Lee R. Jackson Trust. I also want to throw a massive shout-out. Kem Gardner. I don't know if you know this, big person in our community, JJ. He's donated some things before and dollar amounts before. His name and his wife's name and the Gardner family name is on so many things in this community, including a lot of the hospitals and a lot of care, of course, and a lot of University of Utah. It doesn't matter what school you're associated with. But the Kem Gardner Kem Gardner just said, "Hey, $10,000, boom,"
That's
and it
awesome.
was like, "Hey, I'm just going to call up and donate that money." So we appreciate Kem and so many of the amazing things that he's always been a part of in this community and helped so many things. Let's get the show kicked off. We've got tons to do. By the way, you and I are competitive guys. My heavens, we work at a sports station. I look across the table at these FM 100.3 and Arrow 103.5 and KSL Radio and KSL Television folks, and I go, you know what? I don't know if there's a running total that we can beat them with, but I'm going to make it to where we can beat them. They don't know.
We don't have that number, but we're going to pretend we do.
Of course we do. Look, poor Gary Michaels from FM, from 103.5 The Arrow, and Rusty Keys, of course, from FM 100.3. They don't even know that we're competing with them right now. No. All we're doing is they're the biggest rivals we have in this room right now.
They have no idea what's coming right now.
We are going to beat them handily. We are going to put it down, and our listeners, of course, are going to show you how to do it. Let me give that phone number out right off the bat here. 801 KSL Kids. That's 801-575-KIDS. Easy enough for you to be able to donate with the phone call. 801-575-KIDS. Show them that our listeners here at the KSL Sports Zone. And by the way, they're like, oh, we've done this a lot. You know, the KSL Sports Zone is kind of new to this. And I'm like, no, we're not. We know how to do this. And by the way, our listeners are more generous than any of the other listeners. So 801-575-KIDS. That's 801-KSL-KIDS. You can also donate right now. KSLkids.com is the website. Let's kick the show off. Our program is always brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. Make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs a quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. I'm going to lean a lot on Jeremiah Jensen Esquire today as we kind of meander through the legal
I've been studying for the bar, so I'm ready to go on this one.
I need to understand a little bit more of what on earth is going on.
Good luck.
We have studied how this is going to work, or how it is supposed to work with the colleges that are out there, the name, image, likeness, the antitrust lawsuit that is now looking like it's going to be settled for just under $3 billion. Yes, you heard me right. Let's kick things off at the cut, as we do at the top of every hour.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Big Sky is right here in our backyard. Their home offices are right here in Farmington, Utah. And it's an interesting thing because their commissioner, Tom Wistrcill, chatted this afternoon with Hanson Scotty, and I was fascinated because for as much as we're trying to figure this thing out, I feel like everybody, including at the very top, JJ is trying to figure this settlement out. What do we know about it so far? How exactly does it work? So
let me give you some details. So here's the news: the NCAA and this legal situation has settled for $2.8 billion. So college athletes are on the brink of getting $2.8 billion. And a revenue-sharing model in the House versus NCAA settlement. So that's what we know right now, $2.8 billion. This is a landmark legal battle.
Of course it is.
What are the implications of this? We will see. I mean, revenue sharing is obviously something that's going to play a role in this. Roster sizes, everything in college sports, specifically college football, is going to be changing dramatically. So $2.8 billion settlement. I think there's going to be more legal battles with this, and there's Title IX implications as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to dig into the weeds here. We're not legal experts, but that's the surface of it. About 60% of that settlement will come from a reduction in distribution to its schools. So the NCAA is responsible for closing the 40% gap through other means.
Wow.
But the 60%, and this is where Tom Wistrcill comes in, is 60% of these NCAA schools are going to have to pay this amount. Well, the problem is schools like Michigan and Ohio State and Florida and Georgia and Alabama want schools like Weber State to pay the same share.
Sure.
The SEC wants the Big Sky to pay the same share.
Right.
And then you're looking at how this would have been distributed if there was NIL over the years, and that doesn't make a lot of sense now, does it?
No, and that's the part where I think that everybody is looking at, and that's why Tom Wistrcill, the commissioner of the Big Sky Conference, came on and chatted a little bit about this. Here's what he had to say about what the end result is going to be when it comes to, the breakup of from these power leagues to these non-power leagues, but everybody's going to be on the hook for dollars. So why are the smaller schools going to be in so much of a bind here?
I think all pathways lead to a break-off at some point of the Power 2. And I don't know if that's going to be 30 schools, 40 schools, 50 schools. I don't know. I like to call it NFL light. I mean, I think it's heading in that direction ultimately. They're going to be employees or classified something like that. There's going to be collective bargaining agreements and agents and all that. I think that's going to happen. And so this kind of heads it down that path. so people, and by people I mean the A5 group or A4 or A2, however we're describing this now, they can start to create something that can last for a long time. And so that part of it I agree with, and I'm glad they're doing that. And I think that will help out all of the NCAA. But the way we're getting there, like I said, is not balancing out the punishment here. Future, I like the future, and I think it looks okay. But for the next 10 years, the garnished wages leaves conferences like the Big Sky kind of holding the bag. And I can't explain it to our ADs and presidents why this happened and why they're having to take this big budget cut here at the end of May when most of them have their budgets cooked already for next year.
It's a difficult spot to be put in, right? But we've talked about how it is exactly going to look when schools are in the quote-unquote power conferences, when an ultimate break-off, he's calling it NFL light. We've talked about it as some version of a super league. That will ultimately speed up that process. When you see something like this, that speeds up this process. When it comes to us being able to understand how this is going to work, it doesn't really matter because for you and I, it's not like, I mean, the school's revenues aren't going to get affected enough for them to shut down sports, really. That's what we're talking about. What we're saying is just the rich getting richer, and in a weird, totally unfair way, the rich are also asking the poorer schools, I say the poorer schools, the ones with a lot less sport. Certainly, here's the other thing, JJ. It's the athletic revenue that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
These schools that can't afford it. You mentioned some of those big name schools, but really, when it comes to that quote-unquote power two, whatever that ends up looking like, that's going to get accelerated because of a lawsuit like this.
There's two angles here that I'll hit real quick. Number one, what this means for the student-athlete. This is good for the student-athlete because as soon as 2025, we could see athlete revenue sharing, and they'll be treated as if they are employees. And you're going to have to – they're going to have to pay those players in some form. And so how do you do that? Well, they become employees instead of scholarship athletes. So that's good for the players. Another thing is unlimited scholarships. They could trim roster sizes down, but – I mean, they could offer as many scholarships as they see fit.
Sure.
As long as they can come up with a way to pay for it, right? So that's one thing. The other thing about this that needs to be brought up is how do these schools come up with the extra revenue that they might need? Well, guess what? And a lot of people aren't going to like this, but private equity is going to get involved.
Absolutely. At the very least, they're going to be asking you to make up the difference. If it's not private equity, then you're going to get hit also with that. Now, ultimately, the fan is going to and is already paying extra in ticket costs, right? If you're a person who has donated to a school before, I don't know if you've noticed this, you're probably getting hit up more often for more money now because what do they all do? They go, well, I don't know if you noticed this, but we're getting into a new conference or to be able to compete against these new conferences or to be able to possibly be a part of this conversation to be in a super league, well, we need to be a little bit more on the edge there. And look, like we've said before, Utah's already gone through this when they went to the Pac-12, but BYU fans are getting hit with it right now where they go, oh, I didn't know that being a season ticket holder was going to cost me this much now. And it's absolutely the truth. One, it's the new reality. You might look at it like it's not fair, but the reality is that everything costs more being in these conferences, and it's going to. Now, the problem is, and this is why Big Sky Commissioner Tom Wistrcill it's interesting, too, because from his perspective, and we're talking football, by the way, when we talk about, the back and forth, especially the settlement amount that they're talking about isn't fair because FCF schools are already working on on that shoestring budget. Here's what he said about that.
The problem that many of us are having right now is this other part of the lawsuit, which is the look back. That's 16 through 22. Those student athletes and how the money, the $2.77 billion, let's just call it $2.8 billion, is going to be paid to those student athletes. And so the A5 conferences and the NCAA decided the way they were going to pay that was 40% of the money is coming from the A5, and this other 60% is coming from the other 27 conferences, which, at face value sounds reasonable until you realize that 94% approximately of the money that's getting settled is going to go to A5 men's basketball and football players. So to put it in real terms that people like everyone here in Utah can understand, essentially Weber State has to give up $300,000 a year for 10 years so that Zach Wilson and Kyle Kuzma can get NIL money that they missed out on. And we just don't think that's fair from the Big Sky Conference perspective. We think that that money should come from the schools that actually earned the money, that actually gained the revenue out of the ticket sales and sponsorships and the tremendous growth in the media rights. That's the crux of the issue that the 27 conferences have compared to the A5.
That's a great explanation.
It's a really shocking way to understand it, and it's exactly what they're talking about, right? It's really weird, right, to understand this. And by the way, when you explain it in those terms, nobody was wondering, did Zach Wilson get paid? I mean, I hope he's okay. Nobody was wondering, did Kyle Kuzma did he have a career? I mean, is he getting paid? Is he going to be all right? Yes, those are two examples of guys who have landed contracts in the 8-figure range already in their careers.
But that's what this is about.
But
those
that's
guys
exactly,
didn't get that money at school.
Yes.
But this lawsuit says they're owed that money. And who has to pay for it?
Smaller schools.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Not the schools that had the athletes. That doesn't make any sense.
It's wild, but it's crazy too because when you're part of and this is why the NCAA sucks, right?
Yeah.
Because when you sign up to be a part of that conglomerate, right, when you're associated with it, if you thought it was a headache before, right,
Man.
if you think that this is something that is going to be long-term worthy of being able to be upheld, like is the NCAA going to exist after this thing? Is it going to exist at all? Is there any way? Is there any purpose that they hold? There's just nothing that they do that is worth anything for the schools, for the conferences. I don't know exactly what it is that they do at this point. Finally, here's what Tom Wistrcill said about how teams and leagues can opt in to pay the players, because obviously going forward they have to make sure that they are taking care of the players so that something like this does not happen again.
Let's talk about the easy part, which is strange to say, but the easy part is let's look forward. So part of the settlement is what happens the next 10 years. And that is that the settlement dollars, it's going to be $14 billion going forward. And that is every school, all 360 schools could opt in to paying their players up to $20 million a year. Now, I can tell you no Big Sky team is going to opt into that. And every Big Ten and SEC school is going to opt in and pay up to $20 million for student athletes. Every Big 12 and ACC school is going to have to make decisions. How do they opt in? How much can they opt in for? That's what Utah and BYU have to decide. How much are they willing to pay their players up to that $20 million figure? And so it's allowing, hopefully the settlement allows the NIL market and all this craziness around pay-for-play to at least create a little more calmer waters. So that's the look forward, right? So I think we all agree that that's a good thing. That, we were headed in that direction anyway. And is this perfect? No. But it is a start.
And it's so you can afford, or it's so you can avoid and afford not to have these settlements in the future. You won't be able to have athletes come back and say you didn't do what you could. They are paying into that essentially, on top of the fact that they're trying to. But again, $22 million. I don't know how they came up with that number. Why $22 million is the one that these schools can figure out how to pay their athletes with. But you talked about the title line implications. How's that work? How's that work with the quarterback getting 6 figures, the offensive lineman getting 5 figures, and the women's softball team captain getting no figures?
If I'm a lawyer right now, it sounds like a lawsuit.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is it's already complicated.
I don't get paid until you get paid,
right? And it's exactly right. Hi,
are you a gymnast that thinks you should be making as much money as the quarterback?
Did you play football between the years 1988 and 1991 at the University of Utah? If so, you could be entitled to some money. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
By the way, how far back do they look?
I don't know.
How far back do they look? And is it really because at the time when is it at the time that NIL started when they said they weren't, because part of the big thing with NIL was they could not limit the players' amounts on how much they could actually earn.
Yeah.
So in the end, I don't know what the actual answer is going to be. Does it just start at the time when NIL started, which was it seems like it was a century ago, but what
5
was
years ago?
2019.
Yeah,
that area. I'm trying to remember what summer it was that we're looking across the table at Kyle Whittingham at Pac-12 Media Days, and he's like this. I don't know.
2021, actually.
Was it 2021?
Yeah.
Do you remember that time, though? We're sitting there in front of these coaches, and they're like,
July 1st, 2021.
We can't talk to the athletes about this stuff.
Right.
We can't get involved with them on this stuff. We can't help them understand it. We can't. And by the way, they were told that they can't limit them in any way of making any money off name, image, likeness. So you know what they just said? The coaches are like, don't talk to us about it at all. Mm-hmm. Don't let the players will not talk to us about it. We're not going to talk to them about it. So don't talk to us about NIL. We'll just tell you kind of overall how we feel about it as a concept. But in the end, they can't. If they were limiting players in any way, they're going to get hit. And I'm not exactly sure what the $3 billion is going to end up paying for. I don't know who it's going to go to. How are they splitting that up?
I don't know.
I'm not sure how this works.
Did the NCAA just file for bankruptcy?
I almost hope so. I really do. I almost hope so, just so we don't have to deal with those clowns anymore.
They'll just come back as the NCCA.
Sorry, did I say that?
We're not that NCAA.
You know what? Let's you and I.
We're not the NCAA that owes $2.8 billion. Let's you and I buy up whatever trademark you think that they're going to be going with next, and then we're going to go with that. Let's get some GoDaddy websites going. They're going to have to buy them back from us. All right, more to go around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
He was being kind, picking his spots, using different places on the floor to attack. I thought he did a great job of helping everybody relax, on the offensive end, and then I thought defensively he was competing.
We've gotten quite a few tests in these last two series where we've lost on the road and we've been able to win on the road. And we've proven to ourselves how to respond to losses, but I think this is the first series where we've been able to start off with a win. Now we got to learn how to deal with this too. We can't be satisfied. The job's not even near finished.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thank you for being with us on a beautiful Thursday. How weird was it? By the way, my kid's last day of school, 58 degrees is your high. Not normal. No. And you know what they did? The Kaysville Fire Department doused them all with water. So enjoy your summer with some hypothermia. No, and then they came home. I'm not kidding. They came home and they were absolutely miserable. They're like, "Oh my gosh,
you think?
Get out of the shower." I'm like, "You guys, you know what? Wow,
Suck it up and take the loss."
Yeah, no, it's a
That's
win.
right.
You know what happened when they found out that the fire department was going to come and spray them all down? They were excited. Nobody saw it being 58 degrees today as a high.
No,
as a high. Sounds like you. It sounds like you and Jeremy both dealing with some car issues. What's going on?
Gosh, yeah.
You know, you guys need to get 2013
a new car,
a 2013 VW Golf with 87,000 miles on it.
I love my 2007 Honda Accord, but not today.
Oh,
yeah, my poor kids got stranded.
I hate all that.
Stranded at a Maverick getting gas today.
I hate all that for you. All right,
it sucks.
So I feel for you, man. That's stuff we're dealing with. Hey, listen, it's that time of year, of course, for us to be able to jam with people we've never met before, people we do work with, but we all come together at our company down here at Broadcast House in the TV studio for the KSL Give-A-Thon for Primary Children's Hospital. Years ago, we had to really take a hard look at the stuff that was what are the most important things for us, because we were doing a million different charities, trying to figure everything out. We were, I think, as our boss put it, it was like a million miles wide and an inch deep. And so it was like, what are the things that are the most important to us? And Primary Children's Hospital, the Give-A-Thon, the Radiothon, the TV, the Telethon, all of that was looked at and everyone went, nope, that's one that we are going to go all in on.
Yep.
And that's what we do still. And so that's what we're doing today. We are opening up the phone lines for you, for our listeners, to the KSL Sports Zone to donate to Primary Children's Hospital today, to the KSL Give-a-thon for Primary Children's Hospital. And by the way, every penny that's donated goes to the care of children. This is not any sort of like trickle from the top down type of a thing. Every penny donated goes to the care of the kids at Primary Children's Hospital.
You're not paying the six-figure salary of a hospital executive right now.
No, absolutely not.
This is for the kids.
Here's what we do. 801-575-KIDS. That's 801-KSL-KIDS. If you want to give us a call, we just hope that our listeners at the KSL Sports Zone can get involved, because this is such a huge deal for us at the KSL Give-a-thon. Every year, 801-575-KIDS. You can also go to KSLKids.com, become a smile maker, and we would love for you to be able to donate today to the folks at Primary Children's Hospital via the KSL Give-a-thon. Okay. We'll have a guest coming up here in just a few minutes, by the way. One of the kids who was able to benefit from the care up at Primary Children's Hospital. We just talked about the $3 billion settlement that the NCAA is going to have to deal with. That's the most political that we'll get on the show today, okay?
Political, legal, I'm done with it.
Yes. Can't
we
do any of those
put that
things.
behind us.
You and I are not.
That's a big news. Like, look, it's not fun. Like, it's not that interesting to talk about the legalities of it, but it is a big, big, big story, and the impact it can have on the college football that we watch and enjoy is significant. So that's why it's important to discuss it. But it is very complicated, and we'll see how it all shapes out in the future.
Well, you heard on the way in, Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd. You heard from Kyrie Irving, who talked mostly just about basketball, JJ, which I think is
interesting.
I think this is what you're getting right now, is a scary Mavs team, because you have, we talked with Locke about this yesterday, and you and I have had this discussion, and it keeps changing, right? Where we go, who's the best person available right now in the playoffs? Who's the best team? Who's the guy you want on your roster? And I think you'd have a lot of people looking at Luka and going, I can't not say Luka. I think that's what you're. That's kind of where
I
you
was
were
struggling with that, right?
You guys like, why? You see Anthony Edwards, you see Jason Tatum, you see exactly what they bring to the table, and you go, yeah, but there's Luka Doncic, and his fourth quarter last night was the thing that gave the Mavericks a steal of Game 1 up in Minneapolis against the Timberwolves. He is absolutely phenomenal.
Maybe this is how I should have approached that when you asked me that. Which of those players is the toughest guard? Who's the hardest to defend? Because that's really the difference in a playoff series like this, when everything becomes so half-court, everything is so intense. Who can get their shot the most often, the easiest, the most consistent?
Right.
And those three guys are still in the conversation, but then all of a sudden you're like, okay, who can guard Luka? I don't think anybody can.
Not that many guys, and obviously,
and you pair him with Kyrie and all these. They create such great space, and they've got all these nice role players that do really interesting things. P.J. Washington, again, 13 points last night, 7 rebounds. Gafford inside, 10 points, 9 rebounds. Those guys are doing the dirty work so that Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic can go out there and combine for 63 points on the road and get a win.
By the way, Anthony Edwards was like, I can't wait. I'm going to be on Kyrie Irving. I am going to cover Kyrie Irving. It's like, okay, fine. You can try, number one. I just don't think that they were totally ready for the idea of – the thing is all these guys – that's a dumb thing to say. They all know how good Luka is.
Yeah.
It's just that we haven't seen playoff Luka and playoff Kyrie like humming at this level, and they certainly – the Timberwolves haven't seen him at this level humming yet, and so they get him when they're coming off of the win over the Thunder – in the last round, and they're coming off of this emotional Game 7 win over the world champs. And so is there some of that bleeds over to Game 1 where the Timberwolves were not necessarily giving all the credit in the world to the Mavericks, and maybe not necessarily giving all the credit to the fact that they had to go and fight for their lives to get back into this thing?
I think what we're also being reminded of right now is when Kyrie Irving is locked in and he's just focused on hoop, he's elite. He's puts himself in the conversation of definitely a top 10 player, maybe even top 5 when he's at his best. But right now we're seeing a Kyrie Irving that's not talking about all the nonsense. He's not having to take questions about something stupid he said or did. He's just taking questions about how great he's playing basketball. And he's scoring 30 points in a Western Conference Finals Game 1 on the road. When Kyrie's locked in, he's one of the best players in the world. And when it comes down to the last few seconds of a game and you got Kyrie on your team, how good do you feel about him taking that last shot? Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
He won an NBA title with a last shot.
I don't appreciate that our producer Jeremy wanted us to point out that JJ was right.
That's got to be uncomfortable for you.
JJ was right.
I thought I was an idiot.
No.
I am an idiot.
No. JJ was right.
What happened?
By the way, Kyrie giving like a normal interview too after the game. He's like, "Yeah, we're just going out there, we're just doing our part. We're playing hard." Like, it's a scary thing if you're another team to look across the table
That's
and
trouble.
go, "Oh my goodness, he's only talking about basketball. Oh my goodness, he's only focused on basketball." Obviously, it's a massive deal for Luka and Kyrie. This is why they got them together, and it was a joke last year when they got them together because we were all like, look how terrible they are right now. Look how badly they're performing together. These are the two best players on the planet. You can't get those dudes together. And instead it turns into this, right, where you go, all right, I guess they are really good. I guess they might be not just Luka being the best player on the floor. This might be the best duo in the entire playoffs when everything's said and done here.
There's no doubt about it. And right now, they're 3 wins away from going to an NBA Finals as a duo. And this is a big, big moment for Luka. You know, he's young still, right? If he's able to get to a Finals and win an NBA championship in his mid-20s, how many more does he have a chance to win over the years? For Kyrie, he's done it. He's already done it. And so how does our perception of Kyrie Irving change if they're able to get there and win another one? Much different legacy, much different thought about Kyrie's career in the NBA. And a couple of years ago, it seemed like he was on his way out of the league in some sense.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
right? I mean, you were legitimately wondering how much longer his act was going to be tolerated and how long he was going to stay in the league.
We were laughing about it because we were like, look at this team in the West. The Jazz have to go through this mess. They have these awesome players in the Jazz. If they get their stuff together, now it's turned into just another freaking team that you're going to have to hurdle, and that hurdle just keeps getting higher and higher. By the way, it was Kyrie had 24 in the first half. Luka had 15 in the fourth quarter. It was just too much of a 1-2 punch. Yep. By the way, we're not talking about the Timberwolves at all because they just, frankly, did not look that comfortable defending those two guys.
Well, it was a good game.
It was a really good game.
Was anyone not happy? Was anyone
fun.
not entertained last night?
It was fun. I loved it.
But you really are impressed that Dallas was able to make those plays down the stretch. And we think of the Timberwolves as the lockdown best defensive team in the league right now. How about the Mavericks defense in that last couple of minutes? They got it done. So if the Mavericks can play defense at that level with the scoring they have with Kyrie and Luka, this team can win the whole thing. They can win the NBA championship. And as I said, they're only 7 wins away at this point. But for them to steal game 1 on the road is huge. Now, it doesn't mean all that much, as we've learned. What did Minnesota do on the road in the last series? They won 3 games in Denver against the defending champs. So I'm not comfortable here going and saying, all right, well, I guess the Timberwolves are toast. No chance. No chance am I saying that. But, man, was I impressed with Dallas going into Minnesota in Game 1, playing the way they did and winning it like they did, getting stops down the stretch. I think what a perfect start for the Mavericks.
Let's take another break here. We are, by the way, if you're hearing some of the noise in the background, it's a beautiful sound to us. They've brought some kids onto the stage here at Studio A in Broadcast House. We are in a TV studio, someplace that JJ is familiar with and very comfortable with every night. I prefer to stay on this side of the cameras. Fine, no problem. But we're here for a good cause. It's the KSL Give-A-Thon for Primary Children's Hospital, raising money all day. And we're hoping that you, as the KSL Sports listener, as the KSL Sports Zone listener, the KSLSports.com reader might be somebody who goes, you know what, I do want to give. I want to be part of that. I want to be a smile maker, or I want to be, I know my cousin's kid who had this, or maybe you have a very, very personal story very close to your heart, and you say, you know what, I want to donate because we were helped so much while we were there. Let me give that phone number out, 801-KSL-KIDS. That's 801-575-KIDS. That's 801-575-KIDS. Give a call right now. while you're on the road, driving around, maybe you just make that quick call and say, hey, I want to be able to donate. Let's be a smile maker. Let's be that person who makes that donation that can make a difference in a child's life. Primary Children's Hospital makes such a big difference. Every dollar, every penny that's donated goes to the care of the children. So know that. That's what we do. That's what we do here at KSL too. Is we want to be a part of that giving. That's why we do the Give-a-thon every year. All right, KSLkids.com is also the website. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. Hey, would you rather? Stay right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, welcome back. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We've got a children's choir called Rise Up that's here in studio. It's Studio A at KSL. Man, the KSL broadcast house is humming today, bro.
Yeah, it's quite a scene. It's pretty cool.
We're ruining it. We're over here trying to do a radio show in the corner.
We seem out of place.
Oh,
Sports Talk Radio over in the corner while they're at
1,000%.
this beautiful
You know
choir.
what? That's actually about right. Where they go, hey, that isn't that. Look how amazing this is, and then they go, let's put JJ and Alex over in the corner.
Yeah, let's hide them in the corner.
Works out.
Nobody sees them.
It works out. Yeah, so this is a fun thing for us. It's an exciting day. The KSL Give-a-thon. It's something that's important to us. It's something that's important to the folks in this building. It's a really, really fun thing for us. So if you hear the cowbells going off in the background, the children's choir singing, it's all in the effort of helping you to understand how big of a day it is for us here at KSL. The KSL Give-a-thon, raising money for Primary Children's Hospital. Every dollar goes to the care of the kids here. And, it's another awesome thing for you to be able to be a part of. 801 KSL Kids, 801-575-KIDS is the phone number if you want to get on board and donate yourself. KSLkids.com is the website. We hope that you could find a little extra something. I don't care how much it is. If it's just a little or a lot, we would love every penny to be able to go to the care of the kids, which is exactly where it goes. KSLkids.com. All right, JJ, would you rather? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Would you rather? Now, I was reading this, and it was going into the House ruling, of course, where the $3 billion is going to go to the name, image, likeness of players, I'm assuming just in the last handful of years, or however far back it goes. I don't know. So would you but you see the private equity firms who at this very same time, I don't think it's a coincidence that they are jumping in on this as soon as they saw this, right?
Like sharks.
Yeah, here's what it says.
Blood.
Private equity firm says, quote, we are looking to infuse between $100 and $200 million to the top 10 athletic programs in the country. Why not be a part of such a huge national treasure that college football has become? And obviously calling college football a national treasure, we know that. They're looking at it from literally like the gold
They
standpoint.
literally mean treasure.
They literally mean that these kids.
As in how much money can we make on this investment?
And he called it and that asset. But really, what he's talking about, what are those assets that he's talking about?
Players.
It's the players,
100%.
right? So, would you rather be an asset in 2025, 2024, 2025, going to this next season, or would you rather just be the good old fashioned bag? You just got the money from the bag man, and you played college football back when it was pure, JJ. Back when taking money from donors was just it was a secret, man.
Back when Bama. Oh, did I say that out loud?
Excuse
I'm
you.
sorry. I mean,
Excuse you.
SMU. I'd rather be the asset in 2025. I like that it's now. We're not pretending that these are just student athletes.
Are people hiding behind that?
I like that they're going to get paid for what
Yes.
they're doing, because there's people that are making thousands and thousands, if not millions of dollars off the backs of these student athletes who should just be happy that they're getting their tuition paid. Why? Is that you saying that about the NCAA executives?
It sounds so dumb.
The people at schools that are making
it sounds so dumb.
Now.
When Ted Cruz was like, hey Nick Saban, tell him what you told me about how hard it is now, and he goes, you know, college football has become something that it wasn't what I thought it was going to be anymore. I'm going, you made $13.5 million last year.
Yeah, that's so
from the state of Alabama. right? This is not like a so for us to be able to talk about these players as quote unquote assets, but to also at the same time be like, well, it's about the education of these kids, and then they go, and they can't even say it without starting laughing.
Come on, man,
because they know it's such a joke. All right, so but see, I don't know. There's something about a Trans Am back in 1986. Pretty cool, man.
That's true.
And
just ask Eric Dickerson.
And just playing and actually walking away with a degree, whether or not it was earned or not.
That's a totally different story.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is an interesting, weird part of it too, right? Is no one is saying anything about academics, by the way. Not a freaking soul's talking about academics
Well, it's
today.
good because we're finally being honest about what's really going on.
Yeah.
Was it really ever about academics?
Of course not. Of course not. So in the end, it's one of these things that I'm glad they're figuring it out because we've asked for it. And we've been telling people for how long, come on, these administrators that say, oh, these kids are getting an education. It's like, stop faking it. And then, by the way, giving them just like a little bit of some lunch money, giving them like, oh, hey, we're going to give you $600 if you make a social media post. Like, come on, man. We're talking about $1 million business that you're a part of. We're talking about $1 billion business as a whole. So that's why I think it's one of those deals. It's supposed to be way more of an important thing for us to be able to understand. And as we kind of try to understand it even just a little bit, I think that we're just going to – the roof is going to get ripped off of this thing even more.
This lawsuit's part of that, absolutely.
It's the very, very beginning of it. Okay.
We've come a long way since the peanut butter and jelly sandwich debacle at the Boise State.
And what was the Syracuse basketball player, too, was like, all I was able to do was eat a sandwich one day of the week. And you're like, okay, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. If you hear the music in the background and you hear the cowbells going off, it's because we're doing something very, very special here. For so many years, the KSL Give-a-thon, we used to call it the Radiothon, used to be called the Telethon. Now we all get together and we call it the Give-a-thon. Has been a huge part of the community, and we are asking people to donate today to Primary Children's Hospital and doing it through the KSL Give-a-thon. Every penny donated, every penny that's called in and donated today is to help for the care of the kids up at Primary Children's. Nobody gets turned away because of their inability to pay. That's part of the deal. One of the great things that we get to do every year also is interview patients, former patients, people who've been a part of Primary Children's Hospital. I told you about how I lived a mile from the hospital for so long. Taking my kids up to the emergency room, that was a blessing for us to be able to do. We're speaking with Cambria Jackson, who is a 17-year-old here in front of us. Cambria, it's not like everybody else. Everybody gets to talk to you during the commercial break. We have to go straight into it. Oh. So we're meeting you for the first time on the air with all of our listeners.
Hi, guys.
Yes.
How are you?
Welcome. Thanks for being here. This is an awesome thing.
I'm glad I could be. Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit of your story. I know that there was a tumor that a story that a lot of people have heard before. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know where to get the care, and you found it up at Primary Children's Hospital.
Yes, they saved my life.
Wow.
I had this pancreatic tumor. It took up half my pancreas and was strangulating my upper intestine and starving me to death. And I was at a very deathly point where we didn't think I would survive, and Dr. Kastenberg at Primary Children's saved my life. And just all the nurses there, everyone was just so amazing.
So I'm sure when you went through that period where, what's wrong with me? I don't know what's going on. I can't imagine how frustrating that was.
It's terrifying.
How grateful were you then to find answers at Primary Children's?